Hey, welcome everyone. Joan and Triana here for
Hi.
another version or another episode of Moon, Myth, and Magic. And today we're going to talk about the new moon in Aries for Saturday, March 29th. And what does that mean for you? Why, why would knowing about what the moon is doing be helpful? I like to think of that every moon has like a little different flavor. And I remember learning that the moon is related to our emotions and to our feelings. And so if you think about it, every new moon is a time of new beginnings where we're starting over. It's a fresh start. And this particular one is in the first sign of the zodiac in Aries. Aries is a fire sign. And I think the words I came up for this one, it's time to step into your power. It's go time. So I think of the quality of Aries, and we all have these qualities in us. It's just expressed differently, which is unique to you. But I like to think of the moon as guiding the way. It's like, do you have the moonlight at your back and as you're stepping forward? So with this particular one, with this new moon, and when the new moon starts off, it's dark. There's no light in the sky. And then over the next 30 days, it gets brighter and brighter and brighter. So it's like we're planting seeds. It's a new beginning. It's a fresh start. And it's the first sign in spring. So now Triana's going to talk to us a little bit about, I have a lot of different questions I want to ask. And if you ever have any questions, just leave us a message down below, and I promise we will answer them on our next call for you, because there's people with all levels of knowledge. And Triana's specialty is astronomy and astrology and myth, among other things. And my area is as an artist and photographer and oracle cards. I love working with oracle cards and qigong and energy healing. So our calls are a really kind of a fusion. And also we have Midnight, Triana's cat. He comes in. And if there's anything that's really important to say, he will let you know. He's very verbal. So that's the scoop. So Triana, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
And let me ask you this. When you think about Aries, let's do things in a different way. Is there any myth that comes to mind for you when you think about the start of a new lunar year, a new lunar cycle? Are there any myths, any along that line that you think we should know about today?
Well, the original myth around Aries has to do with the god Aries of the Olympians in Greek mythology. And Aries was the god of war. And in the very ancient days, the the troops would look for Mars in the sky because Mars was the planet of war, being red. And I found that very interesting. They wait for Mars to be in the sky. And usually that was because the weather would be getting better for not so snowy and not so ugly for marching. Um
And more light.
and more light. Yeah, exactly. So Aries himself was very, very fierce. He was also a coward. If he got hurt, he'd go running back to Olympia crying and to Olympus, crying and get all patched up and then go back out onto the battlefield again. He was very bold, which Aries is. Aries in astrology is characterized for its boldness, also for, yes, the new beginnings because of being the first sign of the zodiac, and the characteristics of spring, new growth, new abundance, new beginnings. We said that. Aries can be aggressive and very forthright, but also very laid back because it knows its purpose. It knows Aries knows its role in life. And so it doesn't feel like it has to prove anything to anybody. So it can be pretty laid back. It's not brash and awful and naughty and all that stuff. Aries is actually a pretty laid back sign most of the time.
Yeah, another word that comes to my mind is direct.
Yes.
I think of my Aries friends as, which I have a lot of Aries friends, and something that you and I share is an Aries moon. And do you want to say what that might mean for people who might have an Aries moon, what that would be?
Well, I have a Taurus moon, actually.
Oh,
You're the one with the Aries.
oh,
That's
sorry.
all right. No, that's okay. Um, Aries moon, the moon has to do with reactions and emotions. And Aries moon is quick to jump into things that it's drawn to. And it can be, I'm not going to say impulsive, I'm going to say spontaneous in its maneuverings through life, and it knows what it wants. So where some people will say, God, you're impulsive. No, I'm not. I know what I want. And when I see it, I go get it. And that's how Aries moon works. And it can be misunderstood a lot by more conservative moon signs. Um, so having an Aries moon is, yeah, being direct, not having a whole lot of patience for beating around the bush and
Correct.
a lot yeah, not having a lot of patience for people who want to stay stuck in an emotional spot for too long. um Aries wants to move on from something rather than stay stuck in it, even if it means they're going to have to come back and readdress it later. Aries refuses to stay stuck.
Well, that just sums it all up. And the word that came up when you were saying that is let's go.
Yeah,
It's kind of that let's go energy.
yeah, exactly.
I think that's so bizarre that I was thinking you had an Aries moon. It's that we share Leo rising. That's what we share. We
That
don't share Aries.
is.
Delete, delete, delete. Sorry about that. Um, so, you know, can you tell me a little bit about, or tell us a little bit about, so we know it's a new moon in Aries. We know it's about new beginnings. It's the first sign in the zodiac for spring. Things are starting to get going. We're moving forward. Well, this one also is a solar eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
And what would does that mean?
That means that midnight just eclipsed the phone.
Of course he did.
You just saw an eclipse.
Right. Well, I love how he demonstrates for us. What we don't need words. Okay, moving on. We now know about the eclipse. And it takes a black cat to do a lunar eclipse.
Exactly. um, a solar eclipse
Solar
is when
eclipse.
the moon moves between the sun and the earth. and that happens during a new moon. And so we're in an eclipse season now, where we just had 2 weeks ago a lunar eclipse, total lunar eclipse, and now we're having 2 weeks later the solar eclipse. It'll be a partial solar eclipse covering 93% of the sun. But here where we are in the Pacific Northwest, we won't see it. Who will see it is the eastern half of the United States, eastern Canada, Greenland, Iceland, Europe, Africa, Russia. I think that's about it. Greenland will have the view of 87% of the solar eclipse. So it'll be an almost total, but not quite, solar eclipse going on. And then an eclipse season lasts for 6 months. And we have two of those a year usually, where we have two eclipses and then 6 months goes by and then we have two more.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
now we know it's new moon. We also know it's a solar eclipse and what that can mean for us. Okay, now to layer it one more layer, what about Mercury retrograde and how that might be influencing the new moon, the eclipse, or that? I feel it's kind of like in a washing machine with all the different things going on.
Yeah. Well, it's not by degrees, it's not close enough to be influencing this new moon and eclipse. And retrograde Mercury will be moving back into Pisces in a couple of days. And a retrograde Mercury gets blamed for a whole lot of stuff. It can mess up communications and mess up our thinking and just kind of knock us off balance a bit sometimes. But the thing about a retrograde Mercury, number one, is it's telling us to slow down. We can't go at our normal speed during that time because it makes communications and thinking and our normal rhythm, it can upset it or excuse me, Midnight just got something in his mouth that he doesn't need to have. Um, it can upset our natural balance. And so a retrograde Mercury, when you think of retrograde, think of the RE part of it: review, relax, reassess, those types of words, regroup.
A big
That's what
reset.
retrograde. What's that?
It's like a big reset.
Exactly, reset. Yeah, that's what a retrograde is for. And revisit. It's not a time to start a new project. If you've already planned it and you're starting it, it's okay. But if you haven't planned it out before, it's just a cold start. Not a good idea because it's during a retrograde Mercury, it's almost guaranteed to fall apart quickly.
Yeah, I think of it as kind of completion, and I think of review, finish up loose ends. It's like clean the house, declutter,
Right.
finish projects you've started, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And also, if you're about to start something, go back and make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And it's not a good time to sign a contract. If you absolutely have to, make double and triple sure everything's in order, and consult someone also just for another set of eyes. Use extra caution.
Yeah.
And it's also not a good time to buy a major appliance or a new car.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I just think it's helpful to know these things in advance. That's why, Triana and I do this to sort of give you kind of like this energetic um, forecast of, what's going on. So then you can plan accordingly if this makes sense to you, because, everything appeals to people differently. So we never know what might land or feel helpful. Um, so talking about Aries, we know that Aries is a fire sign. And
Mm-hmm.
what are the other signs that you think are going to be most sensitive or, triggered, say, with this new moon?
That would be Sagittarius and Leo. Those are the other two fire signs.
Okay. And so think of it this way. So you might have Aries, Sagittarius, or Leo in either your sun, your moon, or your rising. And if that's the case, this particular moon is going to have some significance for you. And I thought it would be sort of fun to go back and look at what was the flavor of the new moon in 26. So we started off in January with the Aquarius new moon of open up to changes. And I would say this has been one of the most changing years of my life.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how we started, was opening up to change. And then in February, we went into Pisces. And this was now because Aquarius is masculine energy, open up to change. Then we drop into the feminine energy of Pisces, and her guidance is attune to the divine. And this is working with Yasmin Boland's Moonology cards. And then this month for Aries, fiery one that she is, look at these mountains. I love it. It's a mountaintop. My company name, Mountaintop Musings. I love this card. And it's go for it. And that's just lets you know that's a little symbol for Aries. But with this new moon, it's all about go for it. We've got mountains in the distance here. But to get kind of the feel of as we were coming to the end of the year, it was open up to change, attuned to the divine, and now it's all about going for it. So let me pull a card. So I'm going to use Colette Baron Reed's, the back of all the cards look like this. And this is the deck I use for all of these readings. And Triana and I do these readings for every new moon and full moon. And I think we've been doing this since like September or October 24.
Something like,
We,
yeah.
yeah. So they're wanting to be shuffled a lot. I just used this deck in a Tai Chi class I taught just before this. So I think they're shifting gears. They're shifting energy. And I've just got to shuffle and shuffle until they say, okay, Joan, ready. Then they'll tell me.
Oh, yeah. While you're shuffling, about a solar eclipse is we have geomagnetic lines on the earth, a grid, and it's said that during a solar eclipse those grids are interrupted, and those are like the meridians on the earth, and they fluctuate during a solar eclipse.
Just as you said that, the deck just completely did that. It just all jumped in my hands.
Oh, wow.
Well, and you know what? I was just thinking about that, Triana. That is so cool talking about the meridians, because in the energy healing work that I offer, um, you were always working with the meridians, and that makes total sense to me, that in an eclipse, like having a solar eclipse, about the meridians shifting, that there's a change in communication. That's
Uh-huh.
also happening internally in all of us as well.
Exactly.
So, it's like so within and without.
Well,
Okay,
even though we won't be able to see that eclipse, we'll still feel it.
feel it.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, dun, 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 let's see. So let's start off with Aries. Oh, I love the deer card. Bring a gentle touch. Isn't she just beautiful? Oh, and it's
It's
the number
lovely.
18 or the number 9, and we're in the year 9, which is all about completions. It's about
Wow.
endings. And then this card for Aries is all about new beginnings. So it's important to finish first the things that are on the books. It's like clear off your desk, or maybe it's, clean out, check your car and see if there's any things in your car that you need to process and, clean out or clear out. Or maybe it's your desktop, for example. So it's like you're kind of clearing the way so you can then move forward. And as you're doing this, it's with a gentle touch, with the softness of the deer. So that's going to be for Aries is deer spirit. And then for Sag, oh, we've got beaver spirit. Lay a solid foundation. So think about a new beginning. Bring a gentle touch, take your time, move mindfully, and lay a solid foundation. And for Leo, elephant spirit.
Ooh.
Learn from the past. And you think about that. So for the fire signs, and wherever that fire is in your chart, learn from the past because we're in a review right now with Mercury retrograde. We're reviewing. So that gives us a chance to learn from the past. So we can tweak it a little bit going forward and lay a new solid foundation. And we're going to bring a gentle touch so it feels comfortable for us to move forward. Oh, I like that for the fire signs. Do you have anything
Really.
to add on that particular reading? Does that feel good
No,
for
I think
you?
that's great. Yeah.
Okay. Then, Triana, a question that's always kind of confusing is there are qualities that each of the signs in the zodiac have, that they're either cardinal or fixed or immutable. Can you do just
Right.
sort of a brief description of what's a mutable sign mean?
Being a mutable sign means that you're adaptable. It means that you're a distributor of information, items, um, that kind of thing, knowledge. Um, that's where, like, teachers are usually a mutable sign. Um, the fixed signs are the ones that are very staid and loyal and solid and stubborn as well, and the ones that are most resistant to change. And they're the ones that finish things.
That is just so cool. I mean, if I think of like key words for mutable, it's distributor. So they're not going to be, they're not your finishers, they're your distributors. And then once you know you're fixed, that they finish things, those are not necessarily going to be the ones whose specialty is initiating things. So cardinal must initiate.
Exactly. The cardinal signs are the initiators, and they're the ones that step out first. And
I love that.
yeah, they're the front line. And they are also not necessarily the leaders, but the ones that are in charge a lot.
Well, and you think about it, if you manage people or teams and you knew the astrology, even if you know the sun, moon, and rising for the employees that you have on your team, and you happen to know who's your starter, who's your finisher, and who's your distributor,
Mm-hmm.
and you started to do an experiment and have them be responsible for projects, most likely, if you were to assess your team, noting what their skills are, you'd probably be able to see who's the initiator, who's the finisher, and who's the distributor.
Exactly.
And, it's the kind of thing that you can just email Triana. Her website, eponaastrology.com, is listed below. And in your business, if you want to know about yourself, for example, to look at your chart and let you know what are those qualities and how do they show up for you in your life, and maybe something you want to amplify or optimize, Triana can do a reading for you on that. And then if you want to know how it plays in your life, I can do oracle cards to support your growth and your movement forward. So that's just something to consider. That's kind of a fun way that we can play together. Actually, what would be a really cool thing would be to do a reading with both of us simultaneously.
Oh, that'd be a trip, wouldn't it? That'd be fun.
Wouldn't that be a hoot? So you do
Yeah,
all the astrology piece, and I bring in, the oracle cards are, it's your soul speaking. What's your intuition want you to know? And as that
right.
brings it up, then you're supported. So you have the guidance of the what is, here's the facts. And then I bring in the soft side, which is the emotional piece or the inward guidance of what you were born to do that supports your movement forward, one step at a time, that supports the big picture. I do the bite-sized pieces for the little steps. So that's just another option. It's always cool to see, what's going to maybe come up. Well, and for Aries, if I'm correct, she is or I think of it as a masculine sign, um, a cardinal sign, correct?
Right.
And so what are the four cardinal signs?
The cardinal signs are Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn.
It's so fun as you kind of go down these, you'll start to see, when you're getting together, I keep all my friends' birthdays in a calendar. And I mean, some months I'm sending out a whole lot of cards, and you start to see, you notice what your birth chart is, what are your key signs, and then start to look at the people in your life. How many of them are in similar signs than you are? Or when are you writing more birthday cards than other months? That's all. So I find it kind of fun knowing that this is cardinal, that these are the front line people. And I have a great deal. I have lots of Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn friends. Because those qualities are in my chart. And it's like it's there's a camaraderie or a knowing, or where somehow there's a partnering with that energy. Um, so let's see for Aries on this one. Okay, this is antelope spirit. Can you even believe it? Life is speeding up. And I just think that is Aries. I mean, look at the movement of this antelope.
That's
Forward
great.
movement, in action. Life is speeding up. And Libra. Oh, Bobcat Spirit. Such a gorgeous card. Life is a mystery. And for
Mm,
Libra, I think of this, the
mm.
scales. It's a mystery. It's that balancing. Oh, and it's the number 8. Turn her on the side, the symbol for abundance. It's a great one. Bobcat Spirit. And for Cancer, dolphin. I think it's so playful.
And Cancer's a water sign. That's perfect.
Exactly. This and that are true. This and that. The key word is and,
Yeah.
as opposed to but. And, because cancers are going to feel everything.
Right.
And then our last card is going to be Capricorn. Oh, I already know this one. Sometime life sings.
Yeah.
Wasp spirit. When you get up close, look at how beautiful, look at the feathers and look at the beautiful artwork on this gorgeous wasp. Sometimes life stings. So when we look at, this particular new moon, what the cards have to say, I'm going to just do one more card. Oh, this just feels really important to me. Coyote spirit, trust in divine detours.
Ooh.
So there's the plans. You think of this new moon, it's the start of spring. We're moving forward. Sometimes life does not go as planned. Sometimes our plans work out just like we were thinking. Sometimes they don't. And I think we need to be looking for the gift in these divine detours, trusting in the divine detour as opposed to doubting. It's like kind of pause, lean back a little bit, reconsider. Trust. So if close your eyes for a second and I'll tell you a little story about what's the energy of the new moon as related to the fire signs and the cardinal signs that are influencing us at this time. Trust in divine detours. And just know that sometimes life stings. This and that are true. And why is that? Because life is a mystery. One thing for sure that we know is life is speeding up. And when it does, make sure to bring a gentle touch. Lay a solid foundation and learn from the past. And then you will be able to capitalize on the energy and the beauty of the new moon in Aries. And some of the things that I wrote down for this new moon is that it's a time for getting to get going. It's a time for forward movement, but do forward movement that feels good for you within your time frame. Um, It's about being determined, decisive, and expressing how you feel. And I think in the big picture that we came up with the start was this: as we step into our power, we get to know our real self better. And that feels to me to be really the lessons of the Aries new moon. So for you, Triana, when you wrap up our call for the day, and if you were to think of this particular new moon in Aries, if you were to give us 3 words that come to mind for this Aries new moon, what would they be?
3 words for the Aries new moon. Well, taking the eclipse into account, I would say retreat, reassess, and act.
Love that. Retreat, reassess, and act. And that will help you step into your power.
Right.
So that concludes our episode on the Aries new moon, and we'll be back again April 12th for the full moon in Libra. And anything else you have to say, Triana?
Nope. I think I'm happy with what we've covered.
Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming back again. It's so great to see how our channel's growing and more people who like our messages are coming back. It's just feels so good. I just think that we are a very trusted voice that you can rely on. And it's a way to, I really try to keep things really simple and break it down so you really have a good understanding. And then you can take, an idea or a piece of the call. You never know what might be helpful for you. So have a great new moon and wishing you great success as you step into your power. So bye for now. Take good care and we'll see you in 2 weeks.